this ageless valley, a new breed of warrior has been born. Born to rage against the silence of these ancient rocks.
I wanna take you on a roller coaster.
Welcome to Motorstorm.
Okay, this is going to be a very long video, and if not, one of the longest videos on my channel. Today, we're going to be taking a look into Motorstorm, one of the most popular racing game franchises on the PlayStation 3, and by far, one of my favorites. But before I even get into this video, I just want to thank you guys so much for the amount of support on my last video. I didn't expect it to actually be that well received by my subscribers or anybody out there who's even watching it or came across it, and I really just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for your support, continuing to help me on YouTube, and I love every last one of you. And now it's finally time we get into the video. Now the first part of this video is going to be about the gameplay. Now Motorstorm has some pretty chaotic gameplay. Everything is exploding, crashing into walls, running over people, or running over more people. There is no in between. And if you were to ever show a child born in the Victorian era this alone would be enough to completely wipe them clean off the face of the earth. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. What I'm trying to say is that Motorstorm is the perfect example of chaos. Everywhere you look, it's just all in your face. But that's the point. Many people, such as my mom, complain that this game has too much going on. And I know this because just like last week, I was playing with my brother. She was sitting down next to us watching us play, and she was like,
"Man, there's too much stuff going on in this game. I can't tell what's happening. It's what's the word? Overstimulating. It's just too much. Like, I don't get how people can even play this."
But that's how the game is supposed to be, and it's always been like this since it was in development. Hell, in the early footage of the game, everything was already pretty straightforward. Developers wanted it to be hectic, they wanted it to be crazy, they wanted it to be in your face, they wanted things to explode, and they wanted shit to happen. All because it was fun, and boy were they right. Every time you're thrown into a map you're not familiar with, a car you're not familiar with driving, anything that isn't familiar to you at all, you are at the hands of unpredictable. I can't read that. You are at the hands of anything going wrong that will go wrong, and that is no joke. In fact, anything that's supposed to help you win in the game is against you. And for example, is the boost mechanic. The boost mechanic is a pretty important part of the game, as it's vital to helping you win and go faster. But if you use your boost too much, you can actually explode. But exploding doesn't mean you're about to lose. It doesn't mean you're bound to lose. In fact, it could be used to an advantage. When you explode, it actually causes a shockwave which can throw off other people who are near you if you're close to them when you're exploding. Also, exploding can launch you forward, which can give you a bit of momentum to actually help you cross the finish line. And now it's time to talk about tracks. Tracks in this game are actually pretty weird. For example, if you look at the background footage that's on the video right now, you can see that you're pretty much driving on a cliffside, so chances are you could fall, which is pretty common in most tracks in some of the other games. You have to make real sure that you're not gonna fly right off course, or else the chances are you're gonna be sent right back to the home screen. And now for the vehicle varieties in this game. The vehicle varieties in this game matter a lot, because if you were to choose a bike on, let's say, a track that has a lot of mud, chances are you're not going to be getting anywhere soon. But if you choose a buggy, which is on screen right now, it's a pretty decent car and can pretty much be used for any situation, which is why it's a pretty solid choice. And now for trucks. And when I say trucks, I don't mean by rally trucks. I mean by big rigs. Yes, there is big rigs in this game. Big rigs are extremely, and I mean very, very slow. They are stupidly slow. But when you actually start to get a lot of momentum and you start to build up boost, it's pretty much impossible to slow down because they brake extremely slowly. But the good part about big rigs is that you can just plow through anybody and not give a hell about their safety. Because let's say that you see a biker on the road. You know what's gonna happen to that biker? He's gonna die instantly. And you don't have to worry a bit except for managing turns, managing boost, and that's it. You're pretty much unbeatable, but you're slow. And now for ATVs. ATVs are essentially like dirt bikes, but on 4 wheels, which I'm pretty sure is obvious. ATVs generally have better handling than dirt bikes, since they can take mud easier and are less likely to crash all the time, which is obvious. ATVs are a sort of decent choice in my opinion. I mean, I don't really use ATVs, but I think it's a good choice for almost anybody. That is, if it's on simple tracks where nothing is going to be too hectic. And now that we have cars out the way, it's time to talk about the physics of this game. You know, I'm just going to be totally honest with you, it's extremely unrealistic. But that's what makes the game so fun. You don't need extremely realistic physics to capture a racing game. Sometimes unbalanced stuff is what makes a game enjoyable. Not everything has to be totally realistic, and that's perfectly fine with me. And you know, sometimes I need breaks from games like Gran Turismo or Forza Horizon, you know? Sometimes you just gotta get into a game where everything is totally unrealistic and definitely things can go wrong and will go wrong, and then you just go ahead and have fun. All in all though, Motorstorm is a perfect series, a perfect racing franchise, and everything about it is perfect. Down to everything, it's the best thing I've ever seen. And if you're a fan of the game yourself, feel free to give me a few thoughts of yourself on this franchise. I would really appreciate it, and I thank you guys so much for all the support, and I seriously love you all. See ya.